Hi friends, this is Dina with Forever Free with EFT, and I have wanted for a long time now to do a tapping script with you around expectations. That can be a really charged and loaded word, and probably it's more charged and loaded when we think of unmet expectations. But I want to unpack just a little bit about what expectation means. And it's, a belief that we have that something will or can happen in the future. So maybe we're holding expectation that our child will do XYZ because that's what we've taught them, or our husband will do XYZ because that's what we've asked him, that's what we've explained to him. We've gone to him with a need and saying, I have this need, something that I need from you. And so then we have an expectation that in the future they might be able to meet it. Or with family or with friends or work. It can be really in any arena, but it starts with us because we're the one taking on that belief. We are choosing to hold a belief that something can or will happen in the future. But a lot of times there's really not been an indication that it will. Now it's one thing if you've had, this heart-to-heart discussion with someone and they say, okay, I agree, I will try to stop doing XYZ. Then we hold that expectation and then maybe they still do XYZ and our expectation just kind of crumbles and we experience kind of a grief loss feeling because they didn't meet our expectation. It was still our expectation. And so I think there's a lot of us walking around there feeling very charged at different times or having kind of this inner built up sense of I'm always let down by those around me, by friends and family and people that I love. Why do I always feel like I'm let down? And I wonder if it's because we created all these expectations, and maybe we've even held people to a standard that they can never meet or that they didn't agree to meet, they're incapable of meeting right now, just where they are in their own emotional development. There could be lots of reasons, but then we're carrying that burden. We feel burdened over these unmet expectations. So I just kind of wanted to unpack what I meant by that before we get into tapping about it. So even though I feel a heavy burden of a lot of unmet expectations from so many people around me, I love and accept myself and I am safe. I feel like I have this just string of unmet expectations by people that I love and trust. And it feels so heavy, but I love and accept myself and I am safe. I struggle with maybe carrying unrealistic expectations for those around me, but I love and accept myself and I am safe. So it's very natural and very human to have expectations. It's just one of those things. No one has to teach us what expectations are. We eventually just learn what they are and to have them, right? From a very little age, as a child, a young child, right? We expect our parents without even knowing that's what it's called and that's what we're doing. We don't know that we're expecting, but we just know we're so dependent on them that we grow to expect they will care for us. They will feed us, they will clothe us, they will provide us shelter. And while we absolutely need all those things, The delivery of those things might come across not in the best way. Like maybe we learned we didn't have the most loving, nurturing environment growing up, but we didn't know, not to expect that. We learned later that our needs were met in a very utilitarian sort of way. They were not met in an overly nurturing, loving way. So while we maybe never lacked those needs, they weren't met in the way that they should have been. So then the expectation grows going forward, right? These expectations, it's hoping or believing that something will happen in the future. Nobody knows the future. I don't know the future. I cannot control or predict anything that anyone does, really ever. I think we can say, well, as when we have little kids, they do what we say, and we're kind of in control, right? Because that's a teaching and learning time in our lives. That as young children, we don't know how to do anything, and someone has to teach us how to do everything that we're going to need to know in that span of life until we grow the capacity to learn for ourselves. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in general, in relationship with anyone. We cannot control or predict anything that anyone will do. So then we throw expectations in there, right? Like maybe as a mom, I leave the home and I say, okay, these 5 things need to get done while I'm out for the day doing the shopping and the errands for the family. So we're gone for several hours from the home. We walk in the house and we notice not all of those things got done. Maybe some of them did, but maybe not all of them did. And so then we're just like, really? I explained clearly what I needed done. I gave you the instructions. Maybe I wrote you a list and you said, okay, I will do that. And then you come back and it's not done. Well, we can dive into all the reasons maybe that they didn't do it, but we have to focus on our reaction, right? How did we respond to walking in to the things not getting done? So we left with an expectation, a belief that something would happen in the future. And we thought we had some say about that expectation, only to come back and find we were wrong, because we can't control other people, what they will or what they won't do. So maybe we didn't learn how to regulate our emotions about that, and we just get overtaken by disappointment, by anger, by anxiety, by sadness that they didn't do it. It could really produce a myriad of emotions in us. So really tune in. What do I feel when I have an expectation and it isn't met? So that was just an example, asking someone to do something, leaving and coming back. But there's hundreds, right? Thousands of examples of, our partners, our husbands, our wives. We expect them maybe to co-parent with us. We expect them to get certain jobs done around the house. We expect them in a partnership to pull their weight somehow. Same thing in a relationship, right? In a friendship, there's lots of expectations. Like, you call me, I call you. I invite you to things, you invite me to things. I support you, you support me. So we just naturally create many expectations. But we can't guarantee any of them in the natural, right? We can't guarantee that people are going to do or react or say or be anything that we expect. Now, we can gauge people over time, and we have history with our spouses, our closest friends, and we we learn to trust them because they have been proven trustworthy. We learn to know that they will call us because they have proven that they call us. We know they will invite us because they, so there is that sense of we do get to know people, and we can kind of rely or count on our expectations because they've proven themselves. But it's all those ones that trip us up and get us caught in so much stress and so much overwhelm because it didn't happen. And maybe there is a pattern. Maybe that's the pattern. That's what we want to hone in on. The pattern of unmet expectations. Why do I think that they will do this thing or be this way or have this response with me or to me when they maybe haven't proven themselves, but we want to believe the best of people? And maybe that's something that we need to really navigate. What's my part of the expectation to own, and what's the part that I can't do anything about, or that really belongs in the other person's court? Maybe they have agreed over and over, and then they haven't come through, and so those expectations go unmet. And depending on the relationship, after a long time or maybe a short time, we just realize, they're not reliable. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They're really flaky. It's not worth my time and energy to continue to expend in this relationship. But we can't always do that, especially with family. And that's probably where it becomes the biggest challenge, is with our family. Or maybe even we're at a job and we can't just leave our job every time there's unmet expectations. So all we can do is adjust our own understanding and response of them. We need to learn that, people aren't going to follow through. They're going to let us down. Sometimes intentionally, because they're just not, they're not, I don't know what the word is, they're just not, they don't have a good work ethic, or they're not trustworthy, or they're someone that is flaky or super dysregulated. Their life is completely chaotic, and so they're just incapable. Some people are just incapable. They have a lot of healing work of their own to do, and so we can adjust our own response, and that's probably what we need to do. I need to adjust my response to my expectations. I need to adjust my response to my expectations. I need to adjust my response to my expectations in that situation. I can choose to adjust my response to my expectations with that person or in that situation. I need to choose to adjust my response to my expectations with that person or in that situation. I need to adjust my response with that person or in that situation over my expectations. Maybe I need to adjust my expectations with that person or in that situation. I can choose to adjust my expectations with that person and in that situation. I can choose and work to adjust my response to my expectations with that person or in that situation. I need to learn to adjust my response to my expectations with that person or in that situation. I need to adjust my response to my expectations with that person or in that situation. Okay, so we're going to take that deep breath. So the better that we can hone in on, is it them? Is it us? Is it our response needs to adjust? Is it our view of them and kind of how we hold them to task or to their response needs to change. Something needs to shift. So we need to identify what that shift is for us, and then that becomes the tapping that we need to do, the deeper tapping that we need to do. So, if I were to ask 10 of you around expectations, you could all give me a different answer, and we can have 10 different tapping scripts. So we just try to talk through, again, a really broad look at expectations. And then we can tap that last phrase about how we need to adjust or we need to learn to change our response to our own expectations with that person or in that situation. So take this one, try it out, practice it, and see if you find yourself forever free.